listening. I think that has become something pretty hard these past couple of years to listen to different opinions. What can we do about that?
I think it's crucial. There was a very famous Norwegian mediator in Northern Ireland. Somebody once accused him of talking to the illegal Irish Republican Army. And his famous answer was, I'm not talking to the IRA, I'm listening to the IRA. So this distinction is important, and what I think most people don't understand is there's more than one way of listening. And the way in which we listen affects the results that we produce. I write about 4 different ways of listening. The first way of listening is downloading. I'm actually not listening to you. I'm only listening to myself. I'm waiting for your mouth to stop moving, that I can go back to giving you my speech. So that's the first kind of listening, which is very common. The second kind of listening is debating. I'm listening to you, but only to decide whether I agree or disagree, like a judge. I'm trying to decide what's true and what's not true. The third kind of listening is dialoguing. I'm listening to you, not just to hear what you're saying, not to decide whether you're right or wrong, but to try to understand, where is this coming from? What is the source of this? What is its origin? What is this person trying to tell me? Without judgment, but with empathy. And the fourth kind of listening is, I'm listening to you and you and you, not just with empathy, not because I care about you or only because I'm trying to understand you, but because I'm trying to understand what's happening in this whole system. And the reason this is so important is the most common ways of listening are downloading and debating. If we spend our time only downloading and debating, nothing new will be created. We are only going to reproduce the current reality over and over. And if we want to be able to produce something new and something better, we have to learn to spend at least some of our time in dialoguing and presencing, which means we need spaces which encourage dialoguing and presencing. Most of the spaces we have are designed for downloading and debating, and that's not enough. We need spaces which are safe enough and relaxed enough that I can lean forward and maybe try to understand, why is she saying this? What's behind this? What's going on here? Listening to understand rather than listening to defeat. It's a completely different process. Say, let me listen to you for 15 minutes or half an hour and just try to understand what you're saying. I can go back to what I thought beforehand. I'm suspending my assumption. In English, suspending implies that I'm taking my thinking and I'm hanging it from a string in front of me. So we can look at it from this side, we can attack it, and that's not attacking me. Maybe at the end of the conversation I'll take back my idea and I say, look, I've listened to you, but I still think what I thought before. But maybe I will see it differently. I worked a lot in India in 2006. Very long project, difficult project, really confusing. And there was a certain point when I said to one of my colleagues, my Indian colleagues, I said, Arun, what are we doing here? He said, look, Adam, I've been involved in lots of meetings, multi-stakeholder meetings, where you have all the parts of the system around the table. He said, in most of those meetings, 100% of the people arrive in the room with the belief that if only those other people changed, everything would be fine. And I heard that a lot in these last few days. If only those other people would change, would stop doing those bad things, we'd be okay. And Arun's point is that if everybody's around the table, how is it possible that it could be, it's not mathematically possible that it's all somebody else's fault. He said, Adam, what we're really doing here is creating a space where people can see what they themselves need to do differently. And that's the beginning of a fundamental transformation. When I see what I have to do differently, because of course the only thing I can control is what I do. So the most fundamental aspect of this work is helping people see what they themselves need to do differently. Was an expression in the 1960s in North America, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And actually, this is not the key point. The key point is, if you're not part of the problem, you can't be part of the solution. If you can't see how what you're doing is part of the system which is creating what we have now, that if you can't see your role in things being the way they are, then you have no capacity to change it except from the outside by force. So if we want peaceful change rather than violent change, it has to start with people seeing what they themselves need to do differently, how they themselves are part of the problem. And that's a different kind of conversation from finger-pointing conversation about you need to do something different.
But that's hard. That's very hard.
Well, it's hard. And
people have the firm belief. They believe that they're correct. The other side is always wrong. That's what's happening in this country. Okay.
But I think maybe the only useful thing I can say to Thai people after this very brief trip is these things that you think are so hard and so extraordinary are the same for everybody in every country. The things you say about this is hard, or we all have our own opinions, or we divided, yeah, well, so is everybody. And I have seen with my own eyes over and over that it is possible for those things to shift. I can't say that it's guaranteed, but I certainly can say it's possible. I've seen it many times.
How can each one of us actually start thinking in a new way?
Just practicing suspending. I guess another way of saying it is to realize that it's just a belief. It's not the truth. It's a thought, not the truth. And when we get the truth and are thinking about the truth confused, then we're really in trouble. I sometimes say to people, when you find yourself pounding the table in a meeting saying, this is the way it is, this is the truth, just add at the beginning of your sentence, in my opinion. So this is a suspension. To say in my opinion is just reminding myself, this is not the truth, this is my belief about the truth, and if that doesn't work, try in my humble opinion.
All right.